do you work as part of a team? And if so, is it a team that all works together in the same building? Or is it, when this is more likely, a team that's scattered around all over the place? Lots of people talk now about being part of a virtual team. And I think one of the most difficult things to do is actually to be the manager of a virtual team. Now, if I go back in time to when I first started work, I worked in high street retailing. So my team were all there in front of me every day. And at the start of every day, we used to get together and talk about what were the important things for the day, what we were going to do, what's our sales target and so on. And at the end of the day, we could also have a little huddle and talk about what we'd achieved, what had happened, how many sales we'd made and so on. And when I look back on that, I think it was so easy compared to the kind of environments that many people are operating in today as managers. And actually that's true for me as well. Because although when I started my business, I thought I wanted to be a one-person business and run my own show, what I discovered eventually, it did take me a little while to get the hang of this, was that I could actually get a lot more done if I had a team of people around me. So I have a virtual team, and they really are scattered all over the place. We manage to get together about 4 or 5 times a year when we actually all get in the same room together. But it's rare that the whole team comes to one of those meetings. So some people I may only see 3 or 4 times in a year. So the big question then is, how do you create a team spirit? How do you keep everybody involved and included, even when you're not in the same building? Well, I think the answer to that is going to vary a little bit from person to person and from team to team. One of the things that I've found useful is to do some kind of update on a regular basis. Now, I first learnt this a long time ago when I still had a corporate job. I took over another team. I had a team, I had a big plan, I had lots of things to do, and then one day the general manager walked into my office and said, we've made your colleague in this department redundant and we want you to take over his team. And this was a virtual team. It was people who were based out in the field, as it were, people who only came up to head office once a quarter. And I'd never managed a team like that. As I said, I worked in a high street before I had an office job in training and development. So it was a big thing for me to suddenly discover that I had to manage people that I wasn't able to see. So they would phone me up when they needed something, but if somebody didn't actually need anything, there was a danger that I wouldn't hear from them. So somebody who'd worked with my predecessor on this team said that one of the things that he'd done was a kind of update once a week. So on Friday, he used to email everybody. It was a very primitive early form of email because I'm going back in time a long way, and tell them what had been going on. But this lady said to me, the problem is some weeks there's nothing going on, so there's nothing to tell them. So sometimes he only did an update once a month. So I thought about that, and I thought, what's the important thing about the update? Is it actually important that people get the news, or is it more important that they have some contact with their manager and with other people in the head office environment? So I decided to test it out. So I made a promise to myself that I would send out an update every single Friday, whether or not I had anything to say. Now, you might say, isn't that a bit of a waste of your time to send an update to people when you've got nothing to say and they're not going to get any benefit from it? But that's the thing. I think people do get benefit from it, just from the fact that you've made an effort to contact them. Now, do I do that in my business now? Well, to be honest with you, I don't manage to do it every week. I think probably I do it twice a month. I sit down and write a list of what's going on, who are we talking to, who we're doing business with, what's happening with some of our projects, where are we in terms of the plans that we made for the year and so on, just to keep everybody up to speed. And I always know when I'm writing it that I've already told some of what's in that update to some of the people on the team. But nobody ever complains, because just because you've said something to somebody once doesn't necessarily mean they've retained it and that they're going to act on it. So a bit of repetition doesn't go amiss. But one of the things that I find really helpful from this is that when I send out the updates, people respond to me, because it kind of triggers questions and it gets people thinking about things they might not have thought of before, or it reminds them they were going to ask me something. And really the value of it is just the contact. Okay, the information's important. The information's usually available other places as well. But the really important thing is to have some sort of regular contact. Now, of course, if you're a manager of a team, you probably do regular one-to-one meetings with people in your team. So if you're doing that, you can think about doing a sort of team update to complement it. if you meet with everybody once a month, perhaps your update happens every week so that people get snippets of information from you when they're not getting valuable one-to-one time with you. Or maybe you do it the other way around. Maybe you say, well, if I'm talking to everybody once a week, I only need to do a written update once a month. The point is, have a think about it. Is there some way that you can capture all the stuff that you would say to people if they were in the office with you and circulate that information so that nobody feels like they're getting left out? Of course, there's no substitute for face-to-face time, but sometimes you have to do the best you can with what you've got. And even if you can't get face-to-face with people, find other ways of connecting with them. Have a think about it.